Sí. Muy buenos días, señoras y señores. Invitamos amablemente a todos los participantes a tomar asiento. La celebración de la primera cumbre África y Américas está por comenzar. Señoras y señores, sean todos bienvenidos a la celebración de la primera cumbre África y Américas. Es un verdadero honor poder contar con la presencia de cada uno de ustedes. Saludamos al excelentísimo señor Roberto Álvarez, ministro de Relaciones Exteriores de la República Dominicana. Honorable señor David Collado, ministro de Turismo de la República Dominicana y presidente de la Comisión Regional para las Américas. Excelentísimo señor Surab Pololikashvili, secretario general de ONU Turismo. Excelentísima señora Auxilia Managwakwa, primera dama de la República de Zimbabue. Distinguida señora Viviana Ribeiro, directora ejecutiva del Centro de Exportación e Inversión Pro-Dominicana. Distinguido señor Rafael Santos, director general del Instituto Nacional de Formación Técnico Profesional, Infotep. Honorable vicepresidente de la Comisión para África. Distinguida señora Elsia Grancot, director regional para África. Distinguido señor Gustavo Santos, director regional para las Américas. Distinguida señora Natalia Bayona, directora ejecutiva de ONU Turismo. Distinguido señor Jaime Mayaki, director de Cooperación ONU Turismo. Honorables ministros de Turismo, embajadores y jefes de las comisiones de África y las Américas presentes aquí, sean todos bienvenidos. Señores miembros asociados, miembros afiliados, estados asociados, observadores presentes, prensa internacional y local, señoras y señores, nuevamente, sean todos bienvenidos. Esta primera cumbre África y Américas tiene como objetivo explorar cómo podemos promover y fortalecer esa cooperación sur-sur entre ambas regiones, aprovechando el turismo como una herramienta para construir puentes, fomentar el diálogo y promover la cooperación. África y América Latina y el Caribe poseen una variedad de impresionantes atracciones naturales y un rico patrimonio histórico y también cultural. El sector turismo ofrece un camino viable hacia la diversificación económica, la creación de empleos, la innovación y el emprendimiento, al tiempo que preserva nuestro entorno natural. La cultura, la inversión, la educación y la innovación son elementos clave para desarrollar un próspero sector turístico que empodere a nuestras regiones. Hoy estamos aquí, reunidos en esta cumbre con actores de diferentes regiones, sectores y disciplinas para reconocer los desafíos que enfrentamos mutuamente y para demostrar nuestra voluntad de trabajar juntos para superar y establecer una cooperación productiva entre África y América Latina y el Caribe. Es un verdadero placer para mí empezar invitando al señor Roberto Álvarez, ministro de Relaciones Exteriores de la República Dominicana, a subir a este escenario y ofrecernos las palabras de apertura.
Muchas gracias. Muy buenos días. Excelentísima señora Auxilia Mnangagwa, primera dama de la República de Zimbabue y patrona del turismo. Excelentísimo señor Zura Pololikashvili, secretario general ONU Turismo y directores que la acompañan, señor Gustavo Santos, Jaime Mayaki y Natalia Bayona. Honorable señor David Collado, ministro de Turismo y presidente de la Comisión Regional para las Américas. Viceministros de más altos funcionarios del gobierno que nos acompañan, mencionados por la maestra de ceremonia, embajadores acreditados en el país aquí presentes, ministro de Turismo de países africanos y de América Latina, delegaciones y del Caribe, delegaciones internacionales que nos visitan, amigos de la prensa, señoras y señores, bienvenidos todos a República Dominicana, a Punta Cana, República Dominicana, a nombre del presidente Luis Abinader y del gobierno. África y las Américas comparten un vínculo ancestral tejido en la historia y en el alma de nuestros pueblos. Un lazo inquebrantable que trasciende y que hoy se proyecta hacia un futuro de hermandad y desarrollo mutuo. Por esto, nos sentimos profundamente honrados de ser anfitriones de esta primera cumbre de turismo de las Naciones Unidas para África y las Américas. Un evento que marca un hito histórico y refleja el compromiso compartido de nuestras regiones con la promoción del desarrollo sostenible, la innovación y el entendimiento cultural. Deseo felicitar a mi colega David Collado, ministro de Turismo, por su iniciativa, que simboliza el renacer de una profunda alianza guiada por una visión de futuro que reconoce el poder transformador del turismo. Más turistas, más amigos. Esto se da en el marco de un momento histórico crucial, pues, tal como lo enunció hace años el poeta dominicano Norberto James, hay algunas voces que pretenden desafricanizar nuestro país. Estas olvidan que un árbol no puede vivir sin sus raíces. Un estudio tripartito de la National Geographic Project, la Universidad de Pennsylvania de Estados Unidos y la Universidad Iberoamericana de República Dominicana reveló que la composición genética profunda del dominicano es 49% africana, 39% europea y 4% precolombino, es decir, taíno, lo que subraya la herencia de África en nuestra identidad nacional. En palabras de otro insigne dominicano, Marcio Veloz Maggiolo, cito: África es el tambor que marca el ritmo de nuestra vida, el eco ancestral que resuena en la sangre, un continente que habita en nuestra música, en nuestra piel, en nuestra memoria colectiva. Fin de la cita. Reconociendo esta realidad de mestizaje cultural, social y genético, República Dominicana ha trabajado por décadas para estrechar lazos con África. Hemos firmado acuerdos diplomáticos con 48 de los 54 países que conforman el continente africano y seguimos esforzándonos por firmar con los 6 que nos faltan. Nuestro gobierno ha consolidado estos vínculos impulsando la firma de numerosos memorándums de entendimiento sobre consultas políticas, así como otros acuerdos comerciales, culturales y de supresión de visados. Quiero destacar las reuniones más recientes del mecanismo de consultas políticas bilaterales llevadas a cabo con Sudáfrica el año pasado y con Angola este año. Con Angola acordamos también la supresión de visas en pasaportes ordinarios. Además, en nuestra Cancillería, la sede del Ministerio de Relaciones Exteriores, hemos instituido la celebración del Día de África para resaltar los multidimensionales lazos que nos unen. Considero oportuno este encuentro para reiterar el agradecimiento al presidente William Ruto, a su gobierno y al pueblo de Kenia por su compromiso inmutable en favor de la paz y la estabilidad en Haití, liderando la misión multinacional de apoyo a la seguridad, llamada la MSS, aprobada por el Consejo de Seguridad de las Naciones Unidas. Para República Dominicana, la paz y la estabilidad de Haití son temas de seguridad nacional, por lo que el esfuerzo keniano es altamente valorado. En este sentido, y visto el sacrificio del hermano pueblo keniano, nuestro gobierno ha estado colaborando con el apoyo médico para la antes mencionada misión de apoyo a la seguridad en Haití. De igual manera, extendemos nuestro agradecimiento a Benín por su ofrecimiento de apoyo a la MSS, que esperamos se concrete en los próximos meses. Naturalmente, también hay países de nuestra región que han enviado o están en vías de enviar efectivos militares o policiales o que han brindado otro tipo de asistencia a Haití, como Jamaica, Belice, Bahamas, El Salvador, Guatemala, Canadá y Estados Unidos, lo que apreciamos. Señoras y señores, nos reunimos hoy no solo para consolidar lazos en esta primera cumbre de turismo, sino también para descubrir el vasto potencial de lo que podemos lograr cuando unimos fuerzas. A través del turismo y la cooperación diplomática, África y las Américas tienen las condiciones para establecer con creatividad una alianza transformadora que deje una huella profunda en la historia de nuestras regiones. Sigamos construyendo puentes, abriendo puertas y promoviendo un diálogo que enriquezca a nuestras naciones. Muchas gracias.
Con este aplauso agradecemos las palabras del ministro de Relaciones Exteriores de la República Dominicana, el señor Roberto Álvarez. Muchísimas gracias, señor ministro, por sus estimulantes y cálidas palabras de apertura. Enhorabuena. Ahora, señoras y señores, invito al vicepresidente de la Comisión Regional para África a presentar el mensaje del presidente de la CAF, de Mauricio.
Thank you so much. Auxilia Mnagawa, Your Excellency, Patron for Tourism in Zimbabwe, the First Lady of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Zureb Pololi Kaziville, Secretary General, UN Tourism, Roberto Awarenzi, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dominican Republic, honorable ministers present, moderators, speakers, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Patrick Mwenda-Bucha, representing Honorable Rebecca Miano, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife, as well as the Vice Chair for the Commission of Africa, who could not make it because she was hosting the Magical Kenya Expo in Nairobi, Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to read a communication from the Chair of the UN Tourism Commission for Africa, Honorable Louis Stephen Obegadol, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Housing and Land Use Planning, Minister for Tourism or Mauritius, for an avoidable absence owing to urgent matters of national interest. And I read the communication from the Chair. As Chair of the UN Tourism Commission for Africa, I would like to express a word of appreciation to the Honorable Miguel David Gagalo Morales, Minister of Tourism of Dominican Republic, for taking this initiative to host this first joint meeting of the UN Tourism Regional Commission for Africa and the Regional Commission of the Americas. The holding of this first meeting, as expressed through its theme, marks an important milestone in the promotion of South-South cooperation in investment, education, culture, creative industries, and innovation for both our regions. Ladies and gentlemen, the international tourism landscape has witnessed a paradigm shift in the post-COVID-19 era, where countries, and especially small island development states, as IDS, like Mauritius and the Dominican Republic, have had to reinforce efforts to build resilient, promote sustainability and inclusiveness, and sustain jobs to ensure the survival of the sector. South-South cooperation between Africa and Americas will be underpinned by a shared interest in tourism as engine of sustainable socio-economic growth, while simultaneously fostering and enabling mutual understanding, cultural diversity, and the exchange of experiences. The performance of tourism in our regions are testimony to the resilience we are building up. In the wake of global uncertainties triggered by geopolitical unrest and the rising cost of living, according to the latest UN Tourism Barometer issued last month, Africa welcomed 7% more tourists in the first 7 months of 2024. Compared to corresponding period in 2019, the Americas recovered 97% of its pre-pandemic tourist arrivals during these 7 months. Ladies and gentlemen, this first UN Tourism Africa and American Summit provides a platform for our member states to come together to shape the future of tourism in our respective regions. It provides an opportunity to address topics of critical nature which are mutual interests of our regions. The proposed Punta Cana Declaration aims to unlock new avenues of mutual growth, cooperation, and sustainable development, and marks the beginning of a new chapter in South-South cooperation, paving the way for a brighter and more prosperous future. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot underestimate the contribution of tourism towards economic diversification, job creation, innovation, entrepreneurship, the preservation and enhancement of cultural and natural heritage, and sustainable development. These characteristics lay the foundations for the development of a strategic transformative partnership between the Africa region and the Americas. The UN tourism tagline, bringing the world closer, is most opportune and is a manifestation of the immense power of tourism as a force for good and an instrumental of peace, in line with the theme of this year's World Tourism Day. As we navigate through an increasingly dynamic world, tourism is required to be one step ahead to be able to deal with economic, geopolitical, and environmental challenges, the more so for CIDCs like Mauritius and the Dominican Republic. I cannot stress enough that our performance can only be sustained through continuous close collaboration between public and private stakeholders, not forgetting our local communities whose contribution is at the heart of tourism development. I encourage you to actively contribute to these exchanges and wish you an excellent session of enriching work. On a concluding note, I would like to thank His Excellency Mr. Zurab, UN Tourism Secretary General, for his leadership and vision, as well as our colleagues of Africa and Americas departments for their support in making this event possible. I thank you all for your attention. Thank you.
Agradecemos de manera especial al vicepresidente de la Comisión Regional para África por compartirnos y presentarnos el mensaje del presidente de la CAF. Muchísimas gracias a Kenia por estar presente con nosotros. Queremos recordar a todos los presentes que el sistema de traducción simultánea pueden hacer uso de él, se encuentra en nuestra mesa de honor y también se encuentra en la parte delantera de este venue, pueden hacer uso del mismo tan pronto lo requieran. You can use it as soon as you want, and for all our participants, the simultaneous translation headphones are also available for all of you at the entrance of this venue. You can get them as soon as you want. Señoras y señores, continuamos con la agenda de este magno evento y ahora es para mí un verdadero placer poder invitar al señor David Collado, ministro de Turismo de la República Dominicana y presidente de la Comisión Regional para las Américas, CAM, a subir a este escenario y compartirnos sus palabras.
Excelentísimo señor Roberto Álvarez, canciller de la República Dominicana. Excelentísimo Zurab Polilicasvili, secretario general de la Organización Mundial del Turismo, ONU Turismo. Señora Auxilia Magagua, primera dama de la República de Zimbabue. Distinguida señora Viviana Ribeiro, directora ejecutiva del Centro de Exportación e Inversiones Pro Dominicana. Señor Aníbal de Castro, ex embajador ante la Organización Mundial del Turismo de la República Dominicana y quien hizo que sea posible que República Dominicana sea presidente de la Comisión para las Américas, y pido un aplauso para él. Distinguido señor Gustavo Santos, director regional para las Américas. Distinguida señora Natalia Bayona, directora ejecutiva de ONU Turismo. distinguido señor Jaime Mayaki, director cooperativo de ONU Turismo, a los viceministros de República Dominicana que están aquí presentes, Patricia Mejía, Tami Reynoso y Carlos Pegueros, quien es nuestro coordinador internacional, a todos los ministros de América y de África que se encuentran aquí presentes. Para la República Dominicana es un alto honor lo que está sucediendo en la mañana de hoy. Ver una realidad, esta cumbre de ONU Turismo en República Dominicana entre dos continentes, el continente africano y el continente americano. Hoy nos reunimos en un punto medio entre dos tierras que sirvieron como cuna de la humanidad y como hogar del Nuevo Mundo. A pesar de los más de 1.600 kilómetros de distancia que separan el continente africano del americano, nos unen rasgos culturales e históricos. Especialmente, la República Dominicana y África están estrechamente relacionadas por contener la una un poco de la otra. Los más de 5 siglos de historia compartida que tenemos nos han hecho más que enriquecer los aspectos folclóricos y culturales que compartimos, que son tan importantes en la vida de nuestra gente y que nos han colocado en un distintivo en todo el mundo. Estos lazos nos unen, nos enriquecen y nos inspiran a trabajar juntos por un futuro mejor. El turismo, más allá de ser una rama de la actividad económica, es un medio que nos permite exportar al resto del mundo nuestras esencias y mientras tanto crecemos y nos desarrollamos. Por eso, en la actualidad, los países del continente africano lideran la inversión local en turismo, de acuerdo con la información del Foro Económico Mundial, y por esa misma razón, la República Dominicana ha volcado sus esfuerzos hacia la industria que exporta la dominicanidad. Con más de 200 rutas aéreas operadas por 100 líneas aéreas, 93 líneas de cruceros, más de 85.000 habitaciones hoteleras y más de 50 cadenas hoteleras en la República Dominicana, se ha hecho historia, con 8 aeropuertos internacionales y 7 puertos de cruceros, junto a más de 3.500 proveedores turísticos que operan la industria turística, nos permitieron alcanzar el hito de un visitante por habitante en el año 2023, llegando a 10.306.000 visitantes, una cifra histórica para la República Dominicana, y si tomamos en cuenta que fue luego de la pandemia, todavía es más contundente lo que se hizo en el país con una alianza público-privado sin precedente. A pesar de esto, somos conscientes de que para que haya turismo debe construirse una visión país, políticas macroeconómicas que propicien una economía estable y un esquema de inversión que atraigan los inversionistas y que impregnen la confianza. Somos conscientes de que es necesario tener una visión a largo plazo que busque potenciar las fortalezas de cada destino y gerenciar las debilidades, con el objetivo final de construir un producto diversificado para todos los segmentos. Y somos también conscientes de que es necesario contar con una visión de alianzas estratégicas que involucren al sector público y al privado. El rol del gobierno consiste en desarrollar una estrategia de metas realistas, ser precursor del crecimiento de la industria mediante la inversión en infraestructuras, garantizar la seguridad física y jurídica y construir puentes de relaciones internacionales cada vez más fuertes. ¿Para qué? Para incentivar la inversión privada, porque solo en la unión se encuentra una industria, la fuerza y el desarrollo y el aprendizaje. Una vez que esto está hecho, el compromiso de crecimiento, promoción y preservación del turismo será de todos y será para el resto del mundo cada vez más fácil acceder a nosotros y a nuestras riquezas culturales. Gracias por estar aquí, por su compromiso y por su pasión. Para nosotros es un alto honor recibirlos en esta bella isla de gente buena, trabajadora, de gente que en medio de la incertidumbre, que en medio del miedo, en medio de la pandemia, decidimos salir hacia adelante con fuerza, con valentía. Y mientras el mundo cerró sus puertas y cerraba el turismo, esta pequeña isla abrió sus puertas con responsabilidad y nos convertimos en un faro a seguir según diferentes países en el mundo entero. Hemos hecho esto con el apoyo de la Organización Mundial del Turismo, pero sobre todo con el apoyo de todos los dominicanos que abrazaron este tema del turismo, dejando a un lado los intereses políticos, personales, empresariales, para poner sobre la mesa los intereses de la República Dominicana. Que Dios bendiga este evento y que Dios bendiga la presencia de cada uno de ustedes en esta bella isla que decía un gran poeta que por aquí nacía el trayecto del sol. Muchísimas gracias y que Dios los bendiga a todos.
Con este aplauso agradecemos las palabras del señor David Collado, ministro de Turismo de la República Dominicana y presidente de la Comisión Regional para las Américas CAM. Muchísimas gracias por sus palabras, señor ministro, así como también por su visión de trabajo conjunto, de trabajo unido y también de una proyección a corto, mediano y largo plazo que ofrece importantes frutos a nivel de Américas y también de África. A continuación, señoras y señores, queremos introducir las palabras del señor Surab Polo Likashvili, secretario general de la ONU Turismo. Señor secretario general, tiene la palabra.
Buenos días a todos. Good morning. Before I start my speech, yesterday we received the very sad news that our dear ministers, Barbara Rozzi from Zimbabwe, her mother passed away. With your permission, I want to ask you just to express our condolences to her family, and have a 1 minute silent, please. Minister, she is here in Punta Cana, came especially for this event, and again, we will pray for her mother and our deepest condolences to her. So, I'm very happy to be back to this fantastic island, as dear Minister Roberto Alvarez mentioned. Thank you, dear Minister, to be with us. For us, it's an honor, it's a pleasure. You are always supporting our organization, tourism, and we are talking a lot about private and public partnership. The partnership you have and Ministry of Tourism has, this is nice showcase and example how country has to promote tourism, because many countries, they are doing it, they are not doing the same, but you are the real example, and I want to thank to you, to my dear brother, dear David Collado, excellent host, excellent leader, who put from very difficult times, he was mentioning his speech, this wonderful and beautiful country on the top of tourism industry. Today, Dominican Republic is a leading destination. These are not my words, these are numbers. He is presenting in 27 hours working to promote his beautiful country around the world. And today's Dominican Republic, it's not known only Americas. Look, now it's known in African continent. I think that was the main idea, not to promote only Dominican Republic, but to create this great initiative together. And this idea started in our General Assembly when another, my good friend and brother, Vice Minister Carlos Peguero, talking with African minister, talking with American colleagues, decided to organize this event. And we are here. We are here, and I think it's a great and historical day. I want to especially thanks to First Lady of Zimbabwe, Your Excellency Auxilia Mnangagwa. I had the honor to visit another great leader, I would say, in Victoria Falls 2 or 3 months ago. You have to know what the First Lady is doing for continent, for tourism industry. I was surprised. I didn't know many things about her. We met 1 year before in some forum, and I was surprised. Thanks to her, she put African gastronomy in the top priority of the continent. Her leadership is really appreciated, and how she's supporting women empowerment in continent and everywhere. And again, it's an honor to have you, Excellency, with us. It's a great support to our event, because it's not easy to have such high representatives on first event we have here, and I really appreciate your presence, and I'm sure that this is beginning of another great stories or history you are leading. Honorable ministers, ambassadors, distinguished guests, it's a pleasure to welcome you here in Punta Cana. Es un placer darles bienvenida. And I mentioned yesterday that many ministers took a flight from African continent, and they are here, and really all of us were happy, but don't think that America is close. I came from Mexico 4 hours. I was talking yesterday to our Argentinian minister and delegation, 8 or 9 hours. I mean, nothing is close. I mean, all of us, we are here to be together and to support this important event, and I want to thank you, all of you. I want to send our best regards to our colleagues who could not attend this meeting. And again, it's a pleasure to be in la primera Cumbre África Américas de ONU Turismo, que muestra nuestro compromiso con la colaboración a través de las fronteras cruzando el océano. For us, it's a historical day, as I mentioned, because this is the first time we are organizing this kind of meeting in Africa and Americas, diverse and complementary at the same time. Both are blessed with natural wonders and rich cultural heritage. They share common roots and historical ties, and their futures are also closely linked, especially in the field of tourism. In 2023, African and American destinations recorded 267 million international tourist arrivals between them. And these figures, we never know, we never thought, what is the link between these two continents. We're talking about, let's say, two big markets, like 2 and 2 billion, more or less, of population, where again, I know and we know that the continents are far, but today nothing is far, and there's a lot of opportunities and possibilities and space to create more international and more multilateral relationship. And these numbers are expected to grow, of course. Our latest World Tourist Barometer underscores the remarkable results achieved both regions, who have fully recovered and even exceeded pre-pandemic levels. With this in mind, this summit offers a unique platform to forge connections and build bridges between Africa and Americas, create strategic cross-regional partnerships, foster South-South cooperation projects for the benefit of the tourism sector of the two regions. Dear friends, we are here today to begin a collaborative journey. It is a chance to jointly discuss and design solutions to common challenges. Firstly, both Africa and Americas are often hindered by misconceptions with the speak them unsafe tourist destination. Building a common roadmap to reshape the narrative is fundamental to heal their image and enhance their visibility. Better position them within the international tourism marketplace. Expand the contribution of tourism as a driver of economic advancement. But this is possible only we equip the professionals of our sector with the skills to advocate and brand their countries. That means investing in human capital development and empowering the youth who will innovate, inspire, and drive change. We must prioritize access to tourism education to ensure well-trained, empowered, and qualified workforce. At the same time, we must also invest in our sector. Between 2018 and 2023, Africa and the Americas recorded 470 announced FDI greenfield projects in the tourism cluster. This represents a total capital investment of $37 billion and supported the creation of over 130,000 jobs. This must be just beginning, and we know that the tourism is the best recipient to create jobs, and this is our objective, all of us in both continents, to create new jobs. And this must be just the beginning, and UN Tourism is fully committed to the creation of an environment which facilitates tourism investment flows and strengthens inter-regional economic relations. The UN Tourism Doing Business guidelines are key tool for achieving this. Each set of guidelines focused on a specific destination, making clear the investment opportunities in tourism. And today we have put our focus in Africa with guidelines published for Mauritius, Mozambique, Tanzania, and Zambia. And also Americas. By the way, the first guideline we made, it was Dominican Republic, and under leadership of His Excellency Luis Abinader, the president of the country. He personally presented this book in Fitur, and this was first time we ever made this kind of guideline, and I think today we have more than 7 with Chile, Colombia, Cuba, Ecuador, Paraguay, Peru, and Uruguay. And I want to thank CAF, dear Oscar, thank you, and dear Sergio, the president of the CAF, to supporting this initiative. Without you, it was impossible to make happen. And this is just beginning. I mean, we had a lot of things, a lot of work to do together. I always say that we don't need these books to have in our office. We have to go with these books and talk with the concrete investors to put everywhere we can, and to collaborate with embassies around the world. Talking about embassies, I want to welcome dear Annabel Bueno, Dominican Republic, and this is again another nice showcase, dear Minister. It's only country in Spain, in Madrid, who has the special ambassador in our UN Tourism Organization, and again it shows the leadership of the country. Dear Aníbal Castro, also thanks for your support and for your collaboration. At the end of my very long speech, I want to thank our hosts, all our colleagues who is showing and who is trying to feel us like at home. Thank you, all Dominican brothers and sisters. I'm very happy to be here back. Another beautiful event. Last year we celebrated Executive Council, and to sum up today's meeting, we will sum up at the end of the day or tomorrow. And I don't know, it was worth it to bother so many ministers. What will be feedback and what will be outcome of this meeting? I think we will decide together. We will continue, we will make another meeting or not. It will depend, but I'm sure that outcome and feedback of this meeting at least will be that you visited Punta Cana, and you see how beautiful it is. And by the way, the hosts, they make our program quite interesting and diverse. The second, you will meet your colleagues from both continents, and this is first time we are meeting, and I think it's important. And if and I'm sure that there will be new contacts, new businesses. I want to thank the private sector also attended here. And at least you will have new friends. You will have new friends on both continents, and for only that, it was worth it, I think. And thank you very much, all of you, again, to present and to be with us. Have a nice and fruitful first regional meeting between Africa and Americas, and wish you all the best to your countries and to your colleagues. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Agradecemos al señor secretario general por estas entusiastas palabras en esta primera cumbre África y Américas. Enhorabuena. Ahora es para mí un placer poder invitar a este escenario a la señora Auxilia Mangagwa, patrona de turismo en Zimbabue y primera dama de la República de Zimbabue. Les recibimos con este cálido aplauso.
Their Excellency Rachel Pena, Vice President of the Dominican Republic, UN Tourism Secretary General, Mr. Zurab, Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, Robert Alves, Honorable Ministers of Tourism here present, Honorable Minister of Tourism and Chair of the Regional Commission for the Americas, David Collado, Chair of the Regional Commission for Africa, Mauritius, represented by the Vice Chair of Kenya, members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you very much for being with Barbara in spirit for a loss. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I stand before you here today as the First Lady of the Republic of Zimbabwe at the inaugural UN Tourism Africa and Americas Summit. One of the key economic growth factors in the world is tourism, which has proven to be a cornerstone of economic activity. The potential to contribute to socio-economic development through employment creation in the tourism sector cannot be understated. It is therefore heartening to note that key tourism leaders and stakeholders from across Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean are here to construct new avenues for South-to-South cooperation in the area of joint tourism, development, and promotion. By capitalizing on the common cultures and traditions of Africa and the Americas, adopting joint tourism development efforts has high potential to empower and promote the tourism sector and consequently the socio-economic growth of both continents. Ladies and gentlemen, my journey with regards to the adoption, development, and promotion of gastronomy tourism in Zimbabwe has its genesis from the grassroots level. I engaged the chief's wives to resuscitate the farming of our traditional grains, which was now becoming extinct. I envisaged a holistic approach to gastronomy, starting with the farming and preservation of our fruits, vegetables, and grains. This gastronomy journey was consequentially driven by my passion to improve the livelihoods for women, youth, and community at large. After the planting process, I then proceeded to the second stage, which is from the farm to the table. In 2019, I came up with a gastronomy tourism concept focusing on nationwide cookout competitions. This endeavor primarily focuses on village home cooks, aiming to preserve Zimbabwe's heritage while also empowering communities. Celebrating the indigenous cuisine, the cooking competition serves as a platform for home cooks to showcase their culinary skills and share unique recipes. The menu was incredibly vast that there were so many dishes exhibited that we didn't know from the various ethnic groups that make up Zimbabwe. My initiative is helping to preserve a vital aspect of Zimbabwe's cultural identity. These diverse flavors of the country also foster a sense of pride and belonging. I am helping to create opportunities for economic growth and empowerment of women and families. It is important to highlight that today, Zimbabwe continues with the journey of raising awareness on the significance of our traditional foods with proven medicinal properties and how they are important as immune boosters to our human body systems. In 2022, I requested the Ministry of Tourism and Hospitality Industry to coordinate the implementation of the cookout program together with other line ministries and provincial structures. It started as a small event, but then it grew to a national level. In 2023, the program was further elevated to the SADC regional gastronomy competitions. This inaugural event was successfully held at the Great Zimbabwe National Monuments, with SADC countries taking part, namely Botswana, Angola, DRC, Namibia, Mozambique, Malawi, and Zimbabwe. Beyond SADC, we had Nigeria and Ghana, who are outside our SADC, but in Africa. They also joined the regional competition, with Ghana claiming the overall prize. The SADC regional event attracted the international community, resulting in an invitation being extended to me by the UN Tourism to the Global Forum on Gastronomy Tourism in San Sebastian, Spain in October 2023. At this forum, the Zimbabwean experience in promoting traditional cuisine was shared with other countries from all over the world. In line with the Women Empowerment Troop I advocate for, I launched the Agriculture for She program. This Agriculture for She is only for women, farming women and children at a household level, aimed at empowering women with inputs for commercial farming of our traditional grains, promoting these women from subsistence farming to commercial farming. Additionally, I launched the Farm to Market program in May 2024, a concept that promotes economic movement along the food value chain from agronomy to the market and finally to the consumer at the table. This completed the value chain from planting to cooking and a market for the traditional foods. Through this experience, I saw that gastronomy tourism will uplift community livelihoods, open income doors for communities to be part of market value chain. The key success factors of gastronomy tourism are in the linkages across sectors that create seamless value chains in the process. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, I am pleased to report that as a result of all the above-mentioned efforts, the UN Tourism hosted the inaugural UN Tourism Africa Regional Gastronomy Forum in Zimbabwe in July 2024, that I endorsed my capacity of National Tourism Patron and First Lady of the Republic of Zimbabwe. Additionally, UN Tourism is helping in building a UN Tourism Academy for culinary arts for the African continent in Zimbabwe. Victoria Falls is one of the 7 wonders of the world where we had this inauguration. This platform also recognized the importance of empowering youth and the generations to come as change makers and leaders of the future of the tourism industry through the establishment of the Africa International Academy for Culinary Arts in collaboration with UN Tourism. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned before, Our two continents do not only share historical and cultural backgrounds, but they are also renowned for their resilience and flexibility to face challenges and swiftly recover from crises such as the COVID-19 pandemic. The results achieved by our tourism sectors are notable. Africa and the Americas have not only restored the pre-pandemic levels, but they have been even gone beyond and increased the numbers of attracting an increasing demography of international tourists, as witnessed by the latest data displayed by UN Tourism. Excellencies, distinguished guests, it is critically important for Africa and the Americas to join forces and build a common agenda to maximize the potential of tourism beyond our regions by designing new tourism products and cross-regional circuits. I believe that UN Tourism is hereby providing us with a unique platform to unlock new synergies, exchange experiences, and best practices. I believe that this is just the starting point of a long-term collaboration between our two regions, which will continue. May I conclude by proposing that we are welcoming you all to Africa for the next edition of this meeting. May I also take this opportunity to propose that we hold an Africa, Americas, and Caribbean Gastronomy Forum, which we can gladly host in Africa, and maybe in Zimbabwe particular. If it is collectively agreed to, I thank you.
Agradecemos a la primera dama por tan inspirador discurso. Muchísimas gracias por sus palabras.
In a bid to revive, popularize, and preserve the rich diversity of the country's traditional cuisine, the First Lady, Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa, who is also the country's Health and Childcare Ambassador, rolled out the countrywide cooking competition dubbed a Maize Traditional Cookout Competition, targeting chiefs' wives, women from the church, and other community members. Since time immemorial, a variety of traditional grains and wild plants have been consumed as food or medicine, and it is believed they possess properties that help boost the immune system. Prior to the competition, Dr. Mnangagwa distributed traditional seed packs to traditional chiefs' wives and rural communities to promote their production and consumption. The inaugural launch of a Maize Traditional Cookout Competition was held at Chinhoyi University of Technology in 2021, with contestants from Mashonaland West Province showcasing their culinary skills at the first ever provincial competition. The program later cascaded to all the provinces and was a resounding success. The first national cookout competition took place in Harare. After the 2021 national finals, Dr. Mnangagwa handed over the program to the Ministry of Tourism and Hospitality Industry, which is accelerating the First Lady's vision. The second edition of the First Lady, Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa's Traditional Cookout Competition, was held in Victoria Falls in 2022, and it was a colorful and resounding success, attracting ministers from the SADC region who expressed eagerness to do the same in their home countries to ensure citizens benefit from the food's high nutritional value and medicinal properties. Fast forward to 2023, the innovative nature of indigenous dishes prepared by participants drawn from the country's 10 provinces amazed the audience. However, some went a step further and emerged winners. The most amazing part is the 2023 edition featured male contestants, signifying popularity of traditional dishes. Most importantly, restaurants and hotels have taken heed of the First Lady's call by adding a variety of traditional dishes to their menu. This year, the competitions were expanded to include students in tertiary institutions and professional chefs so that the menus are included in hotels, restaurants, shops. Nyanga district in Manicaland province hosted the 2024 edition of Famai's traditional cookout competition finals, where 62 contestants displayed their cooking prowess, much to the delight of onlookers. Chefs from Malawi and Botswana also took part in support of the program by showcasing their unique traditional cuisines. Amai Mnangagwa acknowledged how the local gastronomy initiatives she's spearheading have transcended borders. Amai Mnangagwa has also introduced the farm-to-market concept, which is meant to promote from the farm to the table practice, which encourages healthy eating by minimizing distance and time between harvest and consumption, which promotes access to fresh, healthy foods. Dr. Mnangagwa, who has won international acclaim for pioneering gastronomy tourism, came up with the program with a special focus on empowering local farmers, bridging the gap between producers and consumers, as well as promoting sustainable food systems. Zimbabwe scored a first in July by successfully hosting an inaugural United Nations Tourism Regional Forum on Gastronomy for Africa, an event held in Victoria Falls under the patronage of First Lady Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa. The event, a brainchild of the UN Tourism, was held in honor of Amai Mnangagwa for her contribution to the growth of culture and culinary tourism. The event, which was officially opened by His Excellency President Emmerson Mnangagwa, was attended by other First Ladies, including Serbian First Lady Mrs. Tamara Vučić, Angola's First Lady Dr. Ana Diaz Lorenzo, and representatives of other African First Ladies. The event saw President Mnangagwa and the First Lady being honored by UN Tourism for spearheading tourism development.
Nuevamente agradecemos las palabras de la primera dama por su discurso y también este audiovisual que nos comparte. A continuación es el momento de dar inicio al diálogo ministerial de alto nivel, construyendo oportunidades entre África y las Américas. En primer lugar, quisiera invitar al escenario a la señora Natalia Bayona, directora ejecutiva de ONU Turismo, para introducir este diálogo de alto nivel.
Queridos ministros, queridos delegados, querido equipo de ONU Turismo, it's an honor to welcome you all to this high-level ministerial dialogue titled Building Opportunities Between Africa and the Americas. We have gathered here today in Punta Cana with optimism and enthusiasm to explore, of course, and to find ways to strengthen and unite these two vibrant regions. As Minister Collado, as Secretary General, as Minister of Foreign Affairs, as the First Lady was mentioning, Africa and the Americas are rich in cultural heritage, different landscapes, and of course we have strong historical connections. And that's why we are today here. Our goal of today is to address these challenges in order to foster more collaboration and, of course, to make that UN tourism gets stronger in the territory. Today, this discussion will promote 4 pillars. The first pillar is promoting strategic investments in the tourism sector. Allow me to give you some data from the investments that we have in UN tourism. I was reading last night, and I have seen that in the 5 last years, the investment in the 2 regions has been grown by $5.6 billion. But of course, that's not enough. That only represents 5% of the inflows of foreign direct investments. So of course, we are here, as Secretary General was mentioning, to promote investments, to create more investment guidelines, to connect the public and the private sector, and of course to invest in connectivity. Second point of the discussion of today is related to enhancing education through training skills, development in tourism. So, as all of you know, we have a strong plan on education we are bringing here and creating here in the Dominican Republic, vocational education academy. We're working in Zambia, in Zimbabwe, to create an academy as well over there. And all of you has been working with us to create new courses because, of course, Americas and Africa are the youngest regions in the world, so more than ever, youth empowerment and giving the proper skills is crucial. The third point of the discussion is fostering tourism through innovation ecosystem. So how we can do to innovate, how we can do to strengthen SMEs, how we can do to empower new technologies on destination management. And last but not least, of course, one of the most important pillars of today, to strengthen the role of cultural and creative industries. What we can do from UN Tourism to help you to connect culture, history, and of course, designs to create, at the end of the day, added value jobs. So it's my pleasure. We have been working together in the UN Tourism House with the Regional Department of Americas and with the Regional Department for Africa. So I would like to introduce both of them, Elsie and Gustavo, who will start the discussion. So without further ado, quisiera darle la palabra a mi querido director Gustavo Santos para que empecemos a trabajar en los primeros dos puntos del debate ministerial. Mil gracias.
Queridos ministras y ministros de África y de América, es un privilegio para mí continuar este diálogo trabajando sobre los dos primeros pilares que guiarán nuestra discusión. El primero de ellos, las inversiones estratégicas que necesitamos en el sector turístico. La inversión es esencial para el crecimiento y la transformación del turismo en nuestras regiones. Al fomentar inversiones estratégicas y sostenibles, podemos mejorar la infraestructura, impulsar la innovación y fortalecer la resiliencia económica. Es crucial que consideremos cómo atraer inversiones que respeten nuestras culturas y el medio ambiente mientras generan beneficios compartidos. Los invitamos a reflexionar sobre este eje que incorporara en su momento en la agenda de ONU Turismo nuestro secretario general. Reflexionar sobre políticas e incentivos que podemos implementar para crear un entorno favorable para captar inversiones imprescindibles para nuestros continentes. El segundo de los puntos, al que hacía referencia nuestra directora ejecutiva, es mejorar la educación a través de la capacitación y el desarrollo de habilidades en turismo para nuestra gente, para nuestras comunidades. El capital humano es el corazón de la industria turística. Necesitamos una fuerza laboral bien capacitada y con capacidad de adaptación permanente, capaz de enfrentar los desafíos de un mercado global en constante cambio y evolución. Esto incluye incorporar tecnologías digitales, prácticas sostenibles y promover la igualdad de género y la inclusión. Los invito a discutir cómo podemos colaborar en programas educativos y de formación que fortalezcan nuestras capacidades y promuevan el desarrollo profesional de nuestro sector. Este diálogo es una gran oportunidad para que definamos y acordemos conjuntamente las intenciones que formarán parte de nuestra declaración conjunta. los animo a contribuir con sus ideas y propuestas, asegurando que nuestra declaración refleje verdaderamente estos objetivos compartidos. Ahora cedo la palabra a mi colega y amiga, la directora regional de África, para que enuncie los dos pilares restantes y podamos comenzar este diálogo conjunto. Querida Elsia.
Thank you, dear Gustavo, Your Excellency First Lady of Zimbabwe, distinguished ministers, ambassadors, all delegates here present today. Welcome. It's a pleasure for me to share with you the other 2 points, as Gustavo has mentioned. But before I elaborate on these 2 points, I just wanted also to recall or share as well that these points that we're going to be discussing and that is embodied in the declaration is not new to any of the 2 regions. As you may know, Africa, we have a specific agenda whereby these thematics also are reflected, and this is what is driving our work at the regional department for the continent. So the two remaining points that I will elaborate on, first of all, is fostering the tourism innovation ecosystem. As Natalia mentioned, innovation is indeed the driving force behind the competitiveness and sustainability of tourism. And by nurturing an ecosystem that supports entrepreneurship and the adoption of new technologies, we can indeed create solutions to challenges like climate change, resource management, and enhancing the visitor experience. Let's also consider in our debate how we can create joint networks and innovation hubs that facilitate knowledge exchange, and promote collaborative projects between our 2 regions. The 4th pillar will be strengthening the role of cultural and creative industries. Our cultural and creative industries are an inexhaustible source of added value for tourism. Creative economy and cultural heritage, as we know, offer an immense potential for growth, innovation, and product diversification within the tourism ecosystem. And we've just seen with the presentation of Her Excellency the First Lady how driving gastronomy also is pushing the tourism sector. It is indeed a sector that accounts for 3% of the global GDP and can indeed also create approximately generating $2.250 billion annually. So by effectively integrating these pillars in our strategies, we can offer authentic and differentiated experiences, but whilst also preserving and promoting our tangible and intangible cultural heritage assets. This includes promoting gastronomy, handicrafts, music, and festivals, and supporting local artists and communities. So we propose that we explore actions to protect and enhance these industries as an integral part of our tourism development. We also appreciate the willingness of you delegates participating in this exchange and also to guide the discussion towards the adoption of the joint declaration to be approved at the end of the session. We will be laying the foundations for effective and lasting cooperation between the 2 regions, Africa and the Americas. Through mutual understanding, we can build bridges that indeed unite our region and also benefit our peoples. So we are looking forward to receiving your insights and to be able to continue to work together to achieve our shared goals. And with this, I will open the floor to you, dear ministers, members, in order to share your points and comments on all the 4 points that we've elaborated on. Thank you.
Señores y señoras, los que quieran pedir intervención irán levantando sus cartelitos. iremos alternando entre una intervención de África y una de América y así simultáneamente. Él se irá dando la palabra a los protagonistas de África y a mí me tocará hacerlo con los de Argentina. Bueno. ¿Con los de Argentina no? ¿Con los de Américas? Con América. Pasa que justo el secretario de Argentina levantó la bandera, entonces como casi por orden alfabético, licenciado Daniel Scioli, usted tiene la palabra.
Muchas gracias, amigo Gustavo Santos, director regional para las Américas de ONU Turismo. Agradecer en primer lugar la invitación al señor ministro de República Dominicana y en especial las definiciones que ha tenido David tan inspiradoras y en particular destacar el liderazgo de SURAP. La convocatoria marca un camino, define agendas y en esta oportunidad la hermandad para desarrollar todo nuestro potencial entre África y América. Nosotros en Argentina venimos de protagonizar la Feria Internacional de Turismo más importante de todos los tiempos en cuanto a ronda de negocios, participación de países, y quiero aprovechar este marco para agradecer, pues la mayoría de los países aquí presentes nos han acompañado, mostrando también a esta actividad, coincidiendo con las definiciones que hubo aquí, como la que tiene la respuesta a los principales problemas que enfrentamos nuestros países. Bajar la pobreza, generar empleo, divisas. Para lo cual, dadas las distancias, es estratégico, siento la política aerocomercial, denominada cielos abiertos, el cual Argentina la ha puesto en práctica en plenitud. El gobierno del presidente Milei ha hecho de la desregulación aérea un pilar fundamental de estos cambios que se están llevando adelante. Y quiero compartir con ustedes también la satisfacción de haber llegado aquí junto a la subsecretaria Janina Martínez y la Cámara Argentina de Turismo, representada por Horacio, forman parte del Consejo Ejecutivo de ONU Turismo, miembro afiliado, que estamos próximos, ya se termina todo el detalle, a firmar un acuerdo de vía de cielos abiertos República Dominicana. Y esto me parece que es muy bueno, porque la competencia mejora los precios, mejoran los créditos para comprar estos paquetes turísticos, en especial en un momento, y aquí me acompaña el ministro de Turismo de Uruguay, en la cual un denominador que hubo en la Feria Internacional de Turismo en Argentina fue la convicción de trabajar juntos en la región en circuitos turísticos integrados. Ante la incertidumbre global y los acontecimientos que están ocurriendo, me parece muy importante consolidar nuestra región como una región de compromiso con el desarrollo del turismo sustentable, con la paz y fundamentalmente con algo que ha hecho referencia usted, Gustavo Santos, que yo le quiero agradecer porque no podríamos tener mejor representación en América que un hombre de haber tenido la responsabilidad, no solamente de haber llevado adelante el Ministerio de Turismo en su momento, sino hacerlo con muchas políticas muy innovadoras. Entre ellas, anoche puedo citar una anécdota, estaba presente Oscar Rueda, responsable de la CAF, y se lanzó una iniciativa que yo comparto, el turismo como una herramienta de la diplomacia moderna y también para resolver conflictos. Donde hay un conflicto, una zona de paz. Y por qué no pensar en aquellos territorios que podemos transformarlos en un parque nacional, binacional, y de esa manera dejar atrás de ese encuentro. Esto creo que son casos concretos en cuanto a la fuerza del turismo. Por eso, para la República Argentina, en la cual nuestro presidente ha definido al turismo como una actividad estratégica en la recuperación del país, es muy importante llegar aquí y escuchar una mirada hacia el futuro, en la cual también las nuevas tecnologías tienen un rol fundamental. Y el pilar de la educación, capacitar a nuestros jóvenes, porque la competitividad del turismo viene de la mano de la calidad del servicio. Y esto coincide, muchas veces en nuestro país, de acuerdo al tipo de cambio, se devaluó, no se devaluó, a ver si está más barato, si está más caro, no. El salto cualitativo tiene que ver con la capacitación. En Argentina hay 30.000 estudiantes de la carrera licenciatura turismo. Y es permanentemente, vamos allí con la secretaria y todo el equipo a dar una charla con respecto a las oportunidades que estamos generando para esta industria maravillosa. Y con respecto al tema de las inversiones, y para terminar, los quiero convocar el 24 de octubre, siguiendo una agenda que estamos permanentemente articulando con el sector privado a través de la Cámara Argentina de Turismo. Tenemos un foro de inversión, el primer foro de inversiones, en la cual usted, Gustavo Santos, está especialmente invitado, porque sabemos que va a traer ese foro estas nuevas ideas. Y ese foro van a participar las principales instituciones financieras, y fundamentalmente estaremos anunciando los nuevos incentivos llamados RIGI Turismo, para que el sector sea un sector en el cual esas inversiones generen un círculo virtuoso para aumentar nuestra capacidad hotelera y de esto el impacto económico. Por lo tanto, yo celebro, quiero saludar muy especialmente a las autoridades del gobierno de la querida República Dominicana, a su canciller, a su presidente, muestra a las claras, y cuando uno puede ver, los que conocemos este lugar hace muchos años, el renovado esfuerzo por desarrollar y hacer del turismo una fuente fundamental de progreso y desarrollo. Y también, señora patrona del turismo, quiero decirle que he visto el video con mucha atención y realmente todo lo que es la gastronomía, la cultura, siento que también son fuentes fundamentales de interacción en la cual cariñosamente nuestra patrona del turismo, que es la doctora Martínez, que ya lleva muchos años en esta actividad, y así la llamamos muchas veces porque el turismo tiene que ser una política de Estado, vamos a estar intercambiando experiencia y logrando esa mayor conectividad aérea. He hablado con Etiopía, he hablado con otras compañías aéreas para hacer realidad y que esta vocación de este primer encuentro de ONU Turismo, África y América se vea coronado después en los números por un intercambio cada vez mayor en nuestros países. Muchísimas gracias y seguramente va a ser una jornada muy próspera, muy amable.
Muchísimas gracias, querido Daniel. Y si me permiten, Elsia, un segundo, le quiero en primera instancia dar la palabra a David Collado, que quería responderte a tu planteo, y luego al secretario general, que quiere también hacer un comentario.
Secretario de Turismo de Argentina, para nosotros, la República Dominicana, es un gran honor proceder con la firma de cielos abiertos con Argentina. En mi condición de coordinador del Gabinete de Turismo de la República Dominicana, estoy involucrado en todas las negociaciones. Aquí se encuentra el presidente de la Junta de Aviación Civil, Héctor Porchela, que es la autoridad máxima para la firma de estos acuerdos. Y la verdad es que, a son de chiste, usted me decía ahorita que están viniendo muchos argentinos para acá, que ustedes quieren que dominicanos vayan allá. La verdad es que este año 2024 tenemos un crecimiento de un 150% de argentinos visitando República Dominicana. Esta firma de este acuerdo va a reforzar los lazos de amistad y solidaridad que hay entre ambos países y la apoyamos en nombre del presidente de la República, que me dijo que le expresara que apoya contundentemente la firma de este acuerdo. Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias, querido David. Secretario General, tiene la palabra.
Voy a intervenir muy breve, pues en primer lugar, bienvenido, querido ministro de Argentina. Es primera vez que usted está en nuestros eventos y bienvenido a familia, querida Argentina. conectividad, y yo voy a seguir las temáticas que hemos mencionado, pues si vais a tener vuelo directo Buenos Aires-Punta Cana o Buenos Aires-Santo Domingo, estos 150% va a ser 300%, estoy seguro. Y hablando de África y continente de África, yo no creo que países tan grandes como Brasil, como México, como Argentina, Colombia y por otro lado Nigeria, 200 millones de habitantes, Senegal, Côte d'Ivoire, cada son 30, 40 millones de habitantes y son cerca, no son tan lejos. Yo tengo y creo que hay muchas oportunidades. Y volviendo a Argentina, yo, querido Daniel, querida Yanina, propondría que invitar, y nosotros vamos a hacer puentes en FIT, que es una feria más importante para Américas, y tener ahí presencia africana. Y ahí sí que es un primeros pasos que estamos haciendo. Nadie no sabe dónde vamos a llegar, pero dar un espacio a países africanos, conocer más vuestro país, invertir más en Argentina. Igual argentinos salir y americanos salir y mantener y tener más contacto con queridos hermanos y hermanas africanos. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, SG. Thank you, SG, and thank you, Excellencies, for your comments. Before I give the floor to the Minister of DRC, I just also wanted to share that in the Africa region, there is also an existing framework. I'm sure the ministers will touch on this, which is we call the SATAM, the Single African Air Transport Market. And according to recent information available, we have 37 African member states that have signed the Single African Air Transport Market, a solemn commitment that they've done. And these countries today represent 80% of the existing aviation market in Africa. Just to share that in the continent there is this framework, but it's based on the commitment of countries, as you all know. So with this, Monsieur le ministre de la RDC, vous avez la parole. Merci.
Merci, Madame Grandcourt, pour la parole. Excellence, Madame Auxilia Mnangagwa, marraine du tourisme et première dame de la République du Zimbabwe. Excellence, Monsieur Roberto Alvarez, ministre des Affaires étrangères de la République dominicaine. Monsieur Zurab Pololi-Kashvili, secrétaire général de l'ONU Turisme. Excellences, Messieurs les ministres et chers collègues, Mesdames et Messieurs les directeurs régionaux de l'Afrique et de l'Amérique, distingués invités à vos titres et qualités, chers participants, bonjour. Permettez-moi d'abord de remercier le pays hôte, la République dominicaine, et particulièrement mon collègue pour l'accueil réservé à moi-même ainsi qu'à l'équipe qui m'accompagne. La chaleur de l'accueil, que je qualifie d'africaine et donc de mère patrie, l'Afrique, témoigne de l'hospitalité légendaire de nos frères, et tout en saluant qu'ils sont autant américains qu'africains dans leurs veines. Mes félicitations pour cette expérience d'interaction et de proximité qu'offrent les présentes assises. Je vais parler essentiellement de culture. Mon pays, la RDC, a une frontière commune avec vous, c'est l'océan Atlantique, qui autrefois était le symbole de départ de nombreux Africains. Plus de 12 millions ont quitté les côtes africaines pour se rendre en Amérique et dans les îles. Aujourd'hui, c'est une passerelle culturelle que nous allons ensemble bâtir et qui va aussi au niveau du développement socio-économique et du rapprochement entre les deux rives de l'Atlantique. Parce que dans mon pays, il y a une place qui s'appelle Sianfumu, où nous voudrions bâtir une cité du non-retour, une place touristique qui permettra de se ressourcer et de venir voir ce qu'a été le lieu du départ de nos frères africains. La RDC, c'est aussi la culture, à travers sa musique qui est la rumba. Au départ, on parlait de kumba, parce que c'est la jonction entre les deux nombrils. Et cette musique, la rumba, est reconnue aujourd'hui comme patrimoine culturel immatériel de l'UNESCO. Et nous voudrions pouvoir accueillir dans les jours à venir un festival de la rumba qui permettra justement de faire cette jonction entre l'Amérique et l'Afrique, parce que cette musique qui est partie de l'Afrique a pris plusieurs robes. Elle est devenue rumba cubaine, pachanga, dans d'autres lieux. Elle a changé de robe, mais elle est restée dans son fond typiquement africaine. C'est pour ça que nous voudrions l'année prochaine pouvoir vous accueillir en RDC pour un festival de rencontres, de réconciliation. J'aimerais aussi profiter de cet endroit pour dire que la RDC, c'est aussi un des poumons écologiques de la planète. On y retrouve plusieurs aires protégées, mais ces aires protégées, pour qu'elles restent en vie, il faut aussi qu'elles soient des aires de développement. C'est pour ça que nous avons développé le concept des villages touristiques qui permet de créer autour de certains sites une vie économique afin que les habitants qui sont autour de ces zones ne soient pas les premiers fossoyeurs de ces zones touristiques. J'aimerais terminer mon intervention en disant que mon pays, dans le nord de mon pays, il y a une guerre qui ne dit pas son nom, une guerre injuste, mais le tourisme peut devenir un instrument de paix pour que la paix règne dans mon pays, en Afrique et dans le monde, notamment au Moyen-Orient. J'ai dit et je vous remercie.
Merci. Merci, Excellence. Just to recall that we will have the comments from either side as we go along. So I pass it over to you, Gustavo. Thank you.
Gracias, Elsia, gracias. Tiene la palabra El Salvador. Querida Morena.
Gracias. Bueno, voy a tratar de hacerlo en los 3 minutos que nos dijeron que era la metodología. Primero decirle gracias, mi querido ministro David Collado, por recibirnos nuevamente en la República Dominicana. Gracias, Zurab, secretario de la ONU Turismo, Natalia, Gustavo, todo el equipo de ONU Turismo y todo el equipo de República Dominicana, porque sé que hay un gran esfuerzo atrás de un evento como este. Un saludo a mis amigos y colegas de las Américas y un saludo especial, caluroso y respetuoso a mis amigos y colegas de África. Yo quisiera ser bien puntual con la declaración de Punta Cana. En el primer pilar de inversión estratégica en el sector turístico, primero quisiera sugerir, recomendar, agregar el tema del agua. Sé que puede estar adentro de todo el tema de sostenibilidad, pero creo que el agua en todos nuestros países de América y de África es imprescindible, tanto el océano como ríos, lagos, etcétera, para ser destinos turísticos sostenibles. Y obviamente también hablar de la información para la atracción de inversión turística. Gracias a ONU Turismo, porque ya pregunté y me dijeron que sí podíamos lanzar, secretario, entre el 3 y 4 de diciembre la guía del inversionista del Salvador, así que estoy confirmando así también pleno, así ya nos coordinamos con su equipo, secretario. Y obviamente también una solicitud que yo diría en este área de la atracción de inversión es poder consolidar aquellos incentivos fiscales exitosos que han podido tener tanto países de América como de África en alguna publicación que consolide esto, que sé que lo podemos hacer muy bien desde la Academia de ONU Turismo. En el segundo pilar, en el tema de educación, primero felicitar a Natalia Bayona por todo lo que ha logrado en el tema de educación para este sector. No hay duda que es una líder que ha venido fomentando esto. Yo lo único que también pondría dentro de mejorar la información y el desarrollo de competencias en turismo es enfatizar en las habilidades blandas en las nuevas generaciones. Nosotros desde El Salvador hemos tenido el privilegio de recibir las capacitaciones de ONU Turismo. Si ustedes no lo han hecho, por favor, inscríbanse. De verdad fue un antes y un después para el equipo del sector turístico, tanto público como privado. Y yo creo que es importante ver de qué manera fortalecemos el estudio, pero sobre todo las competencias y habilidades blandas, tanto de los millennials como los centennials, como la generación Z, que son los que están viajando y están dejando divisas en nuestros países. Sobre el tema del ecosistema de la innovación en el turismo, para fortalecer a las MIPYMES. Yo creo que aquí es bien importante también el tema de capacitación en competencias blandas para poder hacer esto realidad. Es decir, no podemos pensar en acortar brechas digitales si todavía no tenemos lo básico en nuestros países, tanto de América como de África, y todo eso también tiene que ver con educación básica. Y sobre el tema de fortalecer el papel de las industrias culturales y creativas, yo creo que aquí también va a ser importante ver intercambios de experiencia entre países de África y Américas, que seguramente tenemos muchas similitudes en nuestras culturas, y además de eso también fomentar el tema de producciones cinematográficas, que sé que muchos países de América lo tienen muy desarrollado. Y yo quisiera terminar con una reflexión, ya me pasé 30 segundos, en el tema de intercambio entre ambas regiones. Recomendémonos que tengamos la tarea de en esta primera reunión que han hecho con mucho esfuerzo, tanto ONU Turismo como este país anfitrión, República Dominicana, que nos hablemos, que conozcamos de nuestras culturas para poder recomendar. De América, solo decir que yo recomiendo a todos los países de mis hermanos de toda la América, y de África agradecer, por ejemplo, a Marruecos, que ha venido trabajando con nosotros para fortalecer el sector turístico y además el intercambio de experiencias. Y esperamos también fortalecer las relaciones con Angola para ver de qué manera podemos también intercambiar experiencias culturales y además fortalecer la recomendación del multidestino, que obviamente va a necesitar esfuerzos como conexiones aéreas más amigables, etcétera. Pero si nos empezamos a recomendar y a interesarnos por nuestras culturas, por nuestros destinos turísticos, entonces esta reunión va a tener todo sentido. Mil gracias.
Thank you, Excellency. I now give the floor to Morocco. Monsieur l'ambassadeur, vous avez la parole. Merci.
Good morning. Thank you so much for giving me the floor. First of all, Excellencies at the table of honor, Excellencies, head of delegations, ladies and gentlemen. I want to start by congratulating the Dominican Republic for proposing, first of all, and hosting this important event, as it serves as an appropriate opportunity, as a platform also to strengthen tourism links between Africa and the Americas. It's one kind of event that we are witnessing today in here, and we should thank the Dominican Republic for its leadership in this context. I would also like to congratulate UN Tourism, in particular the Secretary General, my friend, for his leadership also, for carrying out, for making it possible, this meeting today. Very important meeting today. For the sake of clarity, I'm going to address the 4 clusters according to following a structure. The structure is going to be divided in three aspects. First of all, interlinkage. Second one, what Morocco does. And the third one, proposals or thoughts. I'm going to start with the cluster of culture, which is very important for us. So tourism and culture maintain a mutually beneficial relationship that is essential for the sustainable development of tourist destinations. Tourism, besides being a major economic activity, represents a culture and an art of communication with others. Promoting culture tourism not only generates significant economic benefits, but also preserves cultural heritage and fosters mutual understanding between different communities. Conversely, the development of tourism positively impacts culture by providing the necessary financial resources for the preservation and promotion of diverse expression of culture. In Morocco, under the wise vision of His Majesty the King Mohammed VI, gives special attention to the cluster of tourism culture or cultural tourism. In this regard, the heritage and legacy programs launched in Morocco aims to enhance the country's attractiveness as a cultural tourism destination, focusing on the rehabilitation of historical monuments and the construction of world-renowned museums while promoting art and intangible heritage. Cultural events such as Essaouira Gnawa Festival, Mawazin Festival in Rabat, the International Film Festival in Marrakesh attract tourists interested in cultural experiences, generating significant income for local communities. In terms of cooperation between the two regions, I think that we should encourage the organization of cultural tourism festivals, highlighting the traditions, cuisine, and arts of both continents, promote cultural and artistic exchange, promote culture through media, create thematic tourist routes, utilize digital technology to discover cultural narratives, and develop volunteer programs through solidarity tourism initiatives. Concerning the culture of education. Education, we cannot perceive tourism without education, and we cannot perceive education without a curriculum, university curricula of tourism. The relationship between these two, education and tourism, is of the utmost importance, since education can provide tourism with qualified and skilled personnel to develop the sector, the tourism sector, and tourism is the first employer of youth worldwide, and thus it gives the opportunity for universities to develop curricula and programs in order to have training and capacity building for youth in favor of education. That's why there are two terminologies which are talking right now at the worldwide: cultural tourism or educational tourism. In these lines, under the wise vision of His Majesty the King Mohammed VI, Morocco strengthens its commitment to education in the tourism sector through several strategic initiatives aimed at training skills and responsible professionals to market demands as well as enhancing employability. Morocco has several public and private institutions as well as universities offering specialized and quality training programs in tourism and related fields. In line with the wise vision of His Majesty the King Mohammed VI, and within the framework of effective and pragmatic South-South cooperation, Morocco shares its experience and expertise in tourism with several brotherly and friendly countries through organizing short studies visit and capacity building programs for high-ranking officials and staffs from the tourism ministries of African and Caribbean countries, as well as providing several African students with opportunities to pursue their studies in hotel and tourism training universities and institutes in Morocco. I would like, taking this opportunity, to share with you that in the framework, and the first time ever, in the framework of academic cooperation between Morocco and the Dominican Republic for the next year, 2024-2025, 2 Dominican students have been granted scholarship to pursue their studies at the International Higher Institute of Tourism of Tangiers in the field of tourism. This scholarship are granted by Morocco to this friendly country, Dominican Republic. I'm going to tackle right now the other cluster, which is innovation. The crucial importance of technological innovation is obvious as a lever for the future of tourism, enhancing travel experiences, optimizing destination management, and fostering sustainable growth in the sector. The digitalization of this sector should be highlighted as it encompasses a multitude of services, including transport, accommodation, dining, and sports activities. Under the wise vision of His Majesty the King Mohammed VI, Morocco places innovation at the heart of its tourism policy, recognizing its critical importance for the sector development and competitiveness, meeting the growing expectation of visitors while supporting sustainability and the diversity of experiences. Morocco places particular emphasis on supporting Moroccan startups in the tourism sector, contributing to energizing the entrepreneurial ecosystem and introducing new solutions to the market. Programs like Go Siyaha illustrate this commitment by facilitating the digital transition of tourism businesses and encouraging the adoption of sustainable practices. Currently, the emergence of thematic circuits such as cultural and gastronomic tourism showcases Moroccan heritage and attracts a diverse client. I would recall the launch of the innovation competition for tourism startups organized by Morocco and UN Tourism during the Executive Council of UNWTO held in Marrakesh in November 2022, covering 4 categories: blue economies, natural heritage, cultural heritage, and urban tourism. As a proposal for both regions, we should adapt tourism to emerging trends such as virtual tourism, encourage the use of modern technologies and innovation, and promote the use of social media and online platforms to highlight the attractiveness of each region. Concerning the last cluster, investment, the link between tourism and investment is fundamental and is reflected in a positive cycle that stimulates economic growth, attracts foreign direct investment, strengthens resilience, and enhances the visitor experience. Morocco gives special interest to investment in tourism, aware of its positive impact socially and economically. Substantial investments in the tourism sectors lead to improvement in infrastructure, services, and offerings attracting an increasing number of visitors. As part of the 2030-2026 roadmap, Morocco has launched several initiatives, notably the Go Siyaha program with a budget of $72 million aimed at supporting more than 1,700 tourism businesses wishing to offer innovative animation products and assisting others in their transition to more sustainable and innovative practices. And the CAP Hospitality Program, which aims to modernize the national hotel stock to meet the continuous increase in tourist numbers and the necessity of improving service quality. It provides loans to sectors, businesses, offering them a unique opportunity to modernize their infrastructure. I would like to highlight in this context the investment opportunities in tourism of Morocco, taking into account its political and institutional stability, its tourist potential, natural cultural diversity, as well as favorable business environment and world-class infrastructure. Before ending my statement, I would like to make just 4 proposals concerning the cluster of education. I think that we should carry out exchange programs to contribute to the development of human capital and skills in tourism, increase awareness of sustainability with a focus on sustainable practices, resources management, and respect for local culture and responsible management. Offer training programs for tourism professionals to improve hospitality and services, integrating practices from each region. And of course, we shouldn't leave it aside ecotourism. We should encourage collaboration between member states of Africa and America Commissions in favor of the enhancements of biodiversity and landscapes while supporting local communities. Thank you very much for your attention.
Gracias, Excelencia. Tiene la palabra un representante de una hermosa isla del Caribe, Bahamas.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, I greet you on behalf of the Deputy Prime Minister, the Ministry of Tourism, Investments and Aviation, and the 400,000 people who call the Commonwealth of the Bahamas their home. I too wish to thank the people of the Dominican Republic for such gracious hospitality, while acknowledging our country's deep culture and heritage with Mother Africa. In fact, in April of this year, our country hosted the historic Afri-Exim's Bank's annual meetings in the Bahamas for the first time in the Caribbean to attract and discuss mutual investment. Our country is small, but we're strong, and we're heavily influenced by and dependent upon a tourism product that contributes to some 50% of our overall GDP and accounts for approximately 70% of direct and indirect employment. In 2023, our nation proudly celebrated 50 years of peaceful independence, and it was also during that year that we welcomed a record-breaking almost 10 million foreign visitors to our shores, both by air and sea. We have been aggressively exploring opportunities for new airlift from the Americas and also from Africa. Notwithstanding our reliance on tourism, we adopt the UNWTO's priorities and goals that takes charge of the promotion of responsible, sustainable, and universally accessible tourism, one that promotes culture without changing our unique cultural attributes. Our country appreciates the value of tourism as a driver of economic growth, inclusive development, and environmental sustainability. And as regional leaders, we continue to offer and solicit support in advancing knowledge and tourism policies throughout our regions and worldwide, especially in the area of cultural and heritage tourism, which we can import best practices from the Americas and also from Africa. We recognize and applaud the UNWTO's role in promoting the potential of tourism in fighting poverty and achieving sustainable development goals, evidenced by the UN General Assembly Declaration 2017 as the International Year of Sustainable Tourism for Development, which is extremely important for our destination. That, of course, has been impacted by devastating hurricanes. Your Excellency, as you might recall that in 2019, the Bahamas experienced one of the worst hurricanes in recorded history, Hurricane Dorian, that left a trail of devastation and destruction, primarily in two of our major islands. While there was some disruption to our tourism product in the impacted islands, our resilience and hard work over the years have led us today to an unprecedented recovery of numbers near to single digits when compared to pre-Hurricane Dorian. We adopt the views of our Honorable Prime Minister, who has placed at the top of our national and global agenda the need to achieve climate justice and climate finance reform to promote a transition for the Bahamas and all small island developing nations and states. This applies not just to the achievement of SDG 13 on climate action, but to all of our goals. Moving forward, in acknowledgement of the all-encompassing impact climate change has had and will continue to have on our economies and societies, we must fully integrate climate solutions into all of our sustainable tourism development strategies. As an archipelago of 700 islands scattered over 100,000 square miles of pristine turquoise, breathtaking oceans, our tourism priorities are included in SDG 14 that highlights the imperative to conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies, gentlemen, we are forging an environmentally alert energy future for our archipelago, one in harmony with SDG 7, while also subscribing to SDG 8 to promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and creating opportunities for new entrepreneurs. It should not be better for some until it becomes best for all. We are proud to be the first country in the entire region to launch a second-generation decent work country program, incorporating tourism studies in our high school systems, and our primary school systems, and our universities, and making mandatory tourism service and culture training available for all of our visitor-facing professionals in tourism. As it relates to infrastructure, last year we launched the largest airports infrastructure investment development program in the region and in our country's history to support tourism development. encompassing sustainable and resilient solutions to over 16 airports. In closing, we agree that there is an obvious interconnectedness and synergy inherent to the many sustainable development goals. We agree that progress on one front translates to progress in other areas. As we move from awareness to action, we are cognizant that the journey is a collaborative one. The Bahamas therefore acknowledges and supports the concerted efforts of the UNWTO during this first UN Tourism Africa and Americas Summit. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to visit our shores and experience our diverse cultural product, and we thank you very kindly for your indulgence.
Thank you, Excellency. I don't want to sound too harsh, but in the interest of time and to allow everyone to have a chance to speak, if we can try to keep it to 3 minutes and to the point. With this, I invite our dear ambassador from Liberia. You have the floor, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With all protocols observed, I would like to thank the host nation for doing a beautiful job from the airport into the places of residence, observing the calm and peaceful nature of the country, and understanding what the United Nations have offered the Americas and Africa with this program starting here. Liberia is a small country in Africa, in West Africa, with huge contribution to global peace, but had itself engulfed in war for a period of time. 20 years of peace have seen us progress beyond all reasonable doubt. So I bring you greetings from my president, who is taking tourism on a different pedestal. There are a group of communities from the Americas in Liberia. The Bahamas have original citizens in Liberia. Barbados have a huge population in Liberia, and a host of other American countries as of today. The beautiful thing is that we are a home of everyone. And this, we've decided to start tapping. Early this year, upon the inauguration of our president, the first thing we did was beginning visits to countries where we share common citizens. So we visited Barbados. About 100 Liberians with original history of parentage from Barbados and the government of Liberia visited Barbados. We are about to visit 6 other countries in the Americas so that we begin to understand that the ocean never stopped us from cross-pollinating. Neither can it stop us from integrating. We have an agenda in Liberia called Arrest. For tourism to grow, we believe that the 6 pillars must be complete. Agriculture, the rule of law, roads, education, sanitation. When all these are put in place properly, the last is tourism, becomes the compliant agent for a pooling of investment and creating a happy nation where everyone can be self-employed. This event is not a mistake. It's a roadmap to greater things to come. A roadmap to take away borders in Africa, to see Africa not look at itself as international countries for visa, but we see Africa as a means of domestic tourism within Africa. We also wish to see in Liberia what we are doing now to grow tourism is our hospitalities and foods. And that's what we see right here in the Dominican and every other country. So in all honesty, what has stopped us from growing tourism in our countries have been the line of borders and the means to transportation. There are 3 areas of investment universally by nature. 1, we invest in the land. 2, we invest in transportation, because before the vehicles and the rest, we walked the streets with our legs. But first and foremost, we invest in humans, education. For tourism to grow, there must be understanding of tradition and cultures from various lands and amongst people. So it is not far-fetched when I hear Morocco expand on such development. When I hear the UN for Africa puts it as a major item on its 4 agendas. And I also listen to the other respondents who were clear that tourism is a foundation. And to do this, we will have to learn from each other the best way to practice and grow tourism. Because we are sure that the $1.8 trillion on a yearly basis, we in Africa want all, and we are sure the Americas wants all. And to do that, it has to be collective collaboration, starting with education. Thank you.
Gracias, Excelencia. Tiene la palabra Uruguay.
Muy buenos días a todos. Gracias, director Gustavo Santos. Gracias, ministros David Collado y Roberto Álvarez, por su amabilidad y por su recepción. Gracias al liderazgo de Surapo Loricasvili, señora Auxilia Mangagua, Natalia Bayona, Carlos Peguero, Elsa Grancauer, señor Oscar Rueda, ministros presentes, embajadores y autoridades. Desde Uruguay resaltamos y valorizamos esta reunión, esta primer convocatoria, que es un hito entre la cooperación entre las distintas regiones, esta cooperación sur-sur. Uruguay, como calculo sabrán, tiene un fuerte estrecho vincular con el continente africano. Más del 10% de la población tiene descendencia afroamericana. Tenemos una inmensa participación de costumbres africanas dentro de lo que son nuestras propias costumbres. Entre ellos está, por ejemplo, el candombe, que es un baile típico que mezcla danza, religión, costumbres africanas, que ha sido declarado Patrimonio Inmaterial de la Humanidad por parte de la UNESCO. También tenemos artistas vinculados al continente africano, desde Juan Manuel Blanes, que ya pintaba las primeras obras con referencia a gente afroamericana que estaba en nuestro país, a los días de hoy como Carlos Payo Viraró, que tenía una fuerte influencia, ya que vivió muchos años en distintos países de África. Uruguay es un país pequeño, pero que apuesta muchísimo sobre la sostenibilidad y sustentabilidad del sector turístico. Nosotros apostamos por la innovación permanente en esta actividad, pero también el respeto por los recursos naturales que nosotros tenemos. Sin ningún lugar a duda, entendemos que este vínculo entre ambas regiones es realmente importante y por el cual nosotros abogamos, y en eso estamos de acuerdo también con el ministro Scioli, en que tenemos que desarrollar mucho más la industria aeronáutica para poder hacer efectivo esa vinculación que hay entre las dos regiones. Porque si bien hay conocimiento y tenemos herramientas tecnológicas que nos vinculan, nos pueden llegar a vincular, si no tenemos la posibilidad física de vincularnos, no vamos a poder avanzar. En cuanto a las inversiones, Uruguay es un país que tiene 3 millones de personas, que está fuertemente comprometido con el desarrollo de las políticas públicas sustentables y sostenibles, con el cuidado del medio ambiente. Más del 100% de la energía, de la matriz energética proviene de energías de fuentes renovables. El 100% de nuestro país está digitalizado, por lo que tiene comunicaciones de primer nivel, que hacen que sea factible la introducción de inversiones en cualquiera de las áreas, ya sea de infraestructura turística o de las distintas áreas de tecnología de la informática, que hoy es uno de los grandes pilares que tenemos. Uruguay también se posiciona como un hub de desarrollo sostenible con las distintas variables del desarrollo de las energías limpias. Hoy está teniendo inversiones cercanas a los 16.000 millones de dólares de inversión sobre lo que es hidrógeno verde. Respecto a lo que es la parte de capacitación y de mejora en la calidad de los servicios, Uruguay también cuenta con universidades tecnológicas que alberga desarrollos de distintos de los sectores de la industria. Posee de varias formas emprendimientos tanto gastronómicos u hoteleros que están vinculados directamente al Estado y en los cuales se desarrollan prácticas y cursos de especialización teóricas y prácticas que hacen que tengamos cada vez mejores servicios, pero que sin ningún lugar a duda tenemos que seguir trabajando. En eso también rescato y celebro las becas que la ONU Turismo ha dado para la formación de nuestros jóvenes y nuestros profesionales para seguir mejorando en la formación en este sector. Por último, para respetar los 3 minutos, los animo a seguir vinculándonos con estas actividades que realmente son muy importantes, a seguir estrechando lazos entre ambas regiones que nos unen muchísimas cosas y a seguir en este trabajo diario y permanente, no dejar que las cosas no pasen, sino hacer que las cosas pasen. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Dear Excellency, for recalling the strong bonds between the two regions. Kenya, you now have the floor. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, Your Excellencies. All protocols observed. Greetings from our Honorable Minister, who is not here with us today, Rebecca Miano, and Head of Delegation, who is sitting in for the Africa Chair, Dr. Butcher. And I just bring you the smiles from the 54 million Kenyans. I wish to assure our host, Honorable Minister David Kolado, that Punta Cana is only 2 flights away from the vibrant city of Nairobi. So when we talk about connectivity, we only had 2 flights to get here. We have a direct flight from Nairobi to New York, and New York to Punta Cana is only 4 hours. Arrived yesterday, no jet lag, I'm very fresh for the deliberations, so that's how close we are as Africa and Americas. Now, that said, let me begin by appreciating the multifaceted approach that we are making consideration for this morning through partnerships, investment, innovation, connection through infrastructure, cultural and educational exchanges. I want to be a bit practical in terms of just the asks of us between the two regions. The increase of direct flights is a must if we must get connected. Sometimes the use of open skies sounds complicated and a bit legal, but we have seen direct flights work for us, for example, from the coastal city of Mombasa. In the last 2 years, we've had direct flights from Dubai, direct flights from Germany, and that has increased visitation. So that is one area that we probably need to be practical about. The Americas are very, they're well endowed when it comes to cruise lines, and they benefit a lot from the cruise industry. The African Indian Ocean particularly is extremely warm and very pleasant for cruise. we're reaching out to you to make commendations and consideration for ports of call that are on that part of Africa. Mombasa, for example, is the only port of call on the Indian Ocean that gives cruise visitors who stop by an experience of safari within an hour, 2 or 3 of when they arrive in that coastal city. We hardly have the number, for example, that Dominica has in terms of the cruise lines and the cruise ships that arrive at that coast. So that, I believe that's an area that we can work together. In terms of signing tourism pacts as bilaterals and building on to multilateral agreements, we have seen this work for us with our neighbors, where tour operators from our country are able to go into our neighbors, for example, in Uganda, and the Ugandan tour operators are able to come to our country on exchange practical programs that then give insights on what really Kenyans want when they visit Uganda and what Ugandans want when they visit Kenya. So that is an area that we need to explore, not just with the neighbors, but across the regions. Looking at jointly promoting ecotourism towards sustainable tourism, we need to benchmark with the best. Costa Rica put in a good meeting for the Committee on Sustainable Tourism. We need, as Africa, as Americas, to preserve what we have that is so rich so that future generations benefit from tourism. The opportunities for facilitation of exchange programs and capacity building programs among tourism professionals and training institutions is a fertile area indeed. And that, again, we can explore. In Kenya, we have almost all public and private universities and mid-level colleges now institutionalizing tourism and hospitality as a degree, so as part of learning. And so that means that we will not be dry very soon of capacity building around that area. Just to wind up, again, another call for joint marketing campaigns, including engaging travel influencers from our regions. I'm sure you'd love to see Eliud Kipchoge in your countries convincing you on, your people about a visit to your country, and would love to see the Argentina football legends in our country interacting with Kenyans to tell them about Argentina, just for example. I thank you all, and I do want to encourage us to take these conversations beyond the summit.
Gracias, Excelencia. Tiene la palabra Cuba.
Buenos días a todas y a todos, hermanas y hermanos africanos, de manera especial a la hermana primera dama y ministra de Turismo de Zimbabue, Auxilia Mambagua, autoridades dominicanas a las cuales les reconocemos la organización y atención para el desarrollo de esta importante primera cumbre de la ONU sobre turismo para África y las Américas. Señor Gustavo Santo, director regional para las Américas, señor Surat Pololikashvili, distinguido secretario general de la ONU Turismo, representantes de América Latina y el Caribe, delegados e invitados todos. Damos a nombre de Cuba un reconocimiento a esta importante actividad. Esta primera cumbre de la ONU sobre turismo para África y las Américas, después de la pandemia de la COVID-19, la consideramos como una manera de saldar nuestra propia deuda con los africanos. Para nadie es un secreto que a Cuba le unen con África profundos lazos de hermandad y solidaridad que compartimos en una historia victoriosa con páginas gloriosas para nuestros pueblos. De igual manera, así con la América Latina y el Caribe. En el panorama turístico internacional, sin duda, se trata de unirnos y cooperar para lograr que nuestras riquezas culturales, históricas y patrimoniales sean la fortaleza que nos permite impulsar el turismo para beneficio de nuestros países. La sostenibilidad, el intercambio cultural, el conocimiento, la cooperación y la solidaridad son palabras de orden en estos tiempos, como también el fomento de la inversión extranjera en la industria turística. Cuba ratifica su compromiso con el logro de los objetivos de desarrollo sostenibles vinculados al turismo y su compromiso con el Código de Ética Mundial del Turismo. Aboga por la paz y la solidaridad entre nuestros pueblos, así como en la creación de estrategias comunes que permitan generar productos turísticos multidestinos entre las Américas y el continente africano. Nosotros contamos con una planta hotelera con más de 82.000 habitaciones de hotel. Tenemos la presencia de 20 cadenas hoteleras extranjeras con presencia en el Caribe.
Me permito interrumpir esta sesión para dar la formal bienvenida a la excelentísima vicepresidenta constitucional de la República Dominicana, señora Raquel Peña. Please join me to welcome Madam Vice President, Ms. Raquel Peña.
Para mí es un honor, como ministro de Turismo de República Dominicana y presidente de la Comisión de ONU Turismo para las Américas, presentar a nuestra vicepresidenta constitucional de la República Dominicana, Raquel Peña, y quiero pedirle un fuerte aplauso para ella. Su presencia reafirma el compromiso que tiene el presidente de la República Dominicana, Luis Abinader, en el desarrollo del turismo en nuestro país. Muchísimas gracias.
Excelentísima señora vicepresidenta de la República Dominicana, el delegado de Cuba es el que está haciendo uso de la palabra. Decía, excelentísima señora vicepresidenta de la República Dominicana, saludo. Qué bueno que esté aquí con nosotros, igual que el señor ministro de Turismo, David Collado. En mi introducción decía que Cuba reconoce los resultados extraordinarios de República Dominicana en el turismo. El ministro decía en su intervención que habían llegado el año pasado a 10.300.000 turistas y en las informaciones que él ha dado públicamente dicen que este año van a llegar a 11,5 millones de turistas y eso se debe a una estrategia y a un esfuerzo del gobierno y las autoridades dominicanas, lo cual Cuba reconoce de manera especial. Y decía que nuestro producto turístico en Cuba, además de sol y playa, incluye un notable patrimonio histórico y cultural, fortalecido con el turismo de salud, al cual se lo ofrecemos a las dos regiones y a todo el mundo, y la actividad y la calidad de vida y la educación de nuestros pueblos. El turismo de salud, por ejemplo, lo tenemos contra enfermedades que tienen que ver con el vitiligo, la psoriasis, el pie diabético, y además de eso tiene que ver con el cáncer de pulmón y otras enfermedades. Contamos con un amplio catálogo de eventos culturales y de otros temas del quehacer económico y social del país, insertado en la industria turística. Nuestro gobierno otorga la más alta prioridad al desarrollo del turismo, porque para nosotros debe convertirse en la locomotora de la economía del país en beneficio del desarrollo económico y social de nuestro pueblo, y ratifica su apoyo a la cooperación sur-sur y al buen entendimiento entre nuestros países. Que el turismo sea el vehículo para la paz y el desarrollo es una estrategia sabia y, por lo tanto, Cuba apoya el documento final de esta primera cumbre del turismo para África y las Américas, porque además de eso es una acción que después de la COVID-19 lleva a todos nuestros pueblos a algo por lo que todos luchamos, por la paz y no la guerra, por resolver un grave problema que tenemos en el mundo, que es el cambio climático, y que todos, con la particularidad de lo que cada cual debe hacer, debemos enfrentarlo, porque solo en los países de esta región de América Latina y el Caribe y otras regiones del mundo, casi 900 millones de personas están amenazadas por la subida del nivel del mar al vivir en zonas costeras bajas. Esos también son nuestros países en el cual vivimos, República Dominicana, Cuba, las Bahamas y el resto de los países. Por lo tanto, la responsabilidad de luchar para resolver los problemas del cambio climático para nosotros es una prioridad, porque además salva a muchos lugares de playa y lugares hermosos de nuestro Caribe, de las Américas, de África y del mundo, de perderlo y poderlo disfrutar millones de turistas en el mundo. Por lo tanto, nosotros somos del criterio que esta primera cumbre de la ONU sobre turismo para África y las Américas es un importante aporte, no solamente a la industria turística, sino también a la paz. Que todo lo que esté contra la industria turística en el mundo se acabe. Las guerras que se acaben, las intervenciones que se acaben, los bloqueos, las medidas unilaterales que se acaben, porque son acciones que van contra el desarrollo del turismo. Viva el turismo en el mundo, viva la paz, viva la cooperación y sobre todo, unámonos todos para un mundo mejor que es necesario y posible. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Excellency. We move on with the discussions. I now have the pleasure to invite the Honorable Minister of Zambia to take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Moderator, for inviting us to the floor. I'd like to recognize the presence of the Constitutional Vice President of the Dominican Republic. Thank you very much for impeccable timing at coming through when I'm making my intervention, ma'am. But also to just extend my gratitude to the host, my colleague, Honorable Minister of Tourism for Dominican Republic, for the warm welcome that we will continue to receive. This is our second return as Zambia's delegation here to Dominican Republic, Punta Cana to be specific, and we're very happy to be here. But also to just indicate to everyone else here that Zambia formally concluded diplomatic relations with the Dominican Republic a few weeks ago on the 19th of September at the just recently held United Nations General Assembly. And Honorable Minister SG, I'm very delighted that the discussions that we have with our colleagues from the Dominican Republic is that we're going to now further our relation by signing a memorandum of understanding in the field of tourism and everything that goes with it. Your Excellencies, I think most of the stuff that has been talked about I will not repeat, but just to simply buttress on a number of issues that were raised. And I think the icebreaker was Argentina, who was speaking about open skies. I'll speak to four issues rather. Issues of open skies, issues of free visas, issues of human capital, and last but not the least, aspects of technology, which obviously speaks to energy as well. Now, this first ever UN Tourism for Africa and Americas Summit could not come at a good time in the sense that we are already looking at some of the countries in Africa as well as Americas who have already presented their investment guidelines. What we want to see here is the coexistence, the cohesion between our two continents that will now be able to speak to how we're going to grow our tourism. Remember, we are all different in the various natural resources that we offer. And this is an opportunity for us to actually delete, if I can put it that way, the imaginary borders that we have amongst ourselves. We were hearing people talking about having to travel short distances and the like, but it's only waters that are actually dividing us. So on the issues of open skies, I'm happy that Argentina as well as the Dominican Republic are already speaking about opening them up. I heard somebody talking about them not being scientific. It's not rocket science. All we need to do is to create cross-pollination between our two continents and be able to now get people into those places. It's become more increasingly difficult for people to fly long distances to go to a destination when you can actually just fly no more than 4 hours or remove aspects of getting into different airports. Issues to do with visas is something that is very close to my heart, and I think what we need to have a candid conversation between the two continents is to see how best we could integrate our systems. I will indicate to you, Your Excellencies, that in Africa, especially within the Kaza region, we have created the Kaza Uni Visa, where there's a free flow of tourists within our 5 countries, Angola, Botswana, Namibia, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And that in itself is mimicking the way our wildlife moves around those particular countries. It's something that we need to escalate to SADC, and who knows, between the relationship that we're going to have between ourselves, we should be able to have collaboration with that respect. Human capital, one of our ministers did speak about it, very, very key. We had our first ever human hospitality summit, earmarked at education. Education is very key. And with the support of UN Tourism, we have seen Zambia hosting a number of these summits, which we're going to have yet again next year in 2025. We would like to invite a number of you to come and participate and just understand exactly what the human capital that we have there, over and above the culinary school that was presented. Now, I think what is critical for us as a country, and obviously within the tourism sector, is to make sure that the safety of our tourists is of paramount importance. And I think what I see here, South Africa still remains a very, very safe continent. And we also want to encourage that as we travel, as we traverse the globe, it's very, very important that we put security as the utmost priority so that it becomes relatively easy or safe for that particular tourist to be able to visit each and every one of our countries. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know we've got 3 minutes, but I think what is important for us is to ensure that this particular summit that we're having here does not lose the momentum that it already gathered. This was coined not so long ago. Last year, when we were having an executive council meeting, we had this discussion. Today, almost a year plus, it's being held, and we're looking forward to the next, or is it rather the second Africa and Americas Summit, most likely to be held in Africa, so that we see how best we could encourage other countries that may not have presented their investment guidelines. From what I see here, only 12 have presented their guidelines. Now, that in itself will give you the impetus to see as many of you countries to get to participate. Here we're talking about the 4, which is in Africa, and rather the 8 in Africa and the 11 in the Americas. With those few remarks, Excellencies, I thank you.
Gracias, Excelencia. Tiene la palabra Honduras.
Buenos días, Sus Excelencias, distinguidos invitados. Aprovecho para agradecer a República Dominicana su fraternal hospitalidad. Tenemos en Honduras grupos hermanos africanos en toda la costa del Atlántico Ellos nos han enriquecido el turismo con su cultura, música, gastronomía, lenguas, medicinas ancestrales. Estamos diseñando una ruta turista garífuna y esto me llama la atención cuando hablamos de inversión, porque una de las primeras inversiones que deberíamos de hacer es salvaguardar la cultura garífuna americana, que es un problema el que tenemos porque nuestros jóvenes de estas regiones han abandonado nuestro país por falta de oportunidades. Estamos perdiendo una riqueza incalculable, legado ancestral del África, en el que, por ejemplo, en la época del COVID, fueron las regiones las más protegidas a través de sus medicinas, de herencias ancestrales. Creo que la combinaban con el gifiti, una bebida propia de ellos. En ese sentido, quisiera llamar la atención de crear oportunidades a estos grupos para mantener esa riqueza. Otro punto, porque solo tengo 3 minutos, que quisiera abordar es que en el reciente mes de septiembre se nos pidieron a todos los países que mandáramos mensajes de 1 minuto de paz. Yo creo que así lo hicimos todos. Pero la verdad es que en este momento, en estos precisos instantes en que aquí estamos reunidos, hay guerras, hay niños que están siendo masacrados. Yo pienso que no debemos ser indiferentes, debemos de pronunciarnos. El lema del turismo es la paz y no debemos desperdiciar esta oportunidad para unirnos en una sola voz, para pedir que cese la guerra y que Israel y Palestina puedan llegar a algún entendimiento. Porque ahora ya hay represalias también contra Israel. Ahora sí van a haber también muertos de niños israelíes. Y pareciera que ahora esto toma una mayor dimensión. En ese sentido, debemos, como países amantes de la paz y del amor, a dar un pronunciamiento en contra de la guerra. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Excellency. Zimbabwe, you have the floor. Thank you.
While riding on the protocols already established, please allow me to specially recognize the presence of Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Dominican Republic. And as I do that, please also allow me to say within the next 3 minutes, I will start by referring to the practical demonstration by Zimbabwe in the form of the presence of the First Lady of the Republic of Zimbabwe, who is amongst us but not currently in this room, and who has actually addressed this occasion and has articulated the vision that Zimbabwe has in terms of what tourism is and what it can and should do. Having said that, I will refer to a few written remarks which were going to be delivered by our Honorable Minister, who unfortunately has suffered a bereavement, as has been already announced here. So allow me to go into some few technical points that she was going to refer to. I've already dispensed with the protocols, so I'll just go to the technical data. And this refers to Zimbabwe's tourism outlook. Zimbabwe experienced a 54% increase in tourist arrivals in 2023, with the total reaching 1.603 million, close to 70% of the pre-COVID levels. national average room occupancy rose from 44 to 47%, surpassing pre-pandemic levels by 3 percentage points. The tourism sector generated approximately $1.16 billion in 2023, a 27% increase from the previous year. These figures highlight Zimbabwe's robust recovery, which was driven by both domestic and international tourism, contributing about 12% to GDP and 3.5% to employment creation. Accordingly, all these achievements are inclined towards Zimbabwe's vision for a $5 billion tourism economy by 2025 and Vision 2030, which is a strategic framework to attain an upper middle income society by 2030, as enunciated by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Comrade Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa. Further, His Excellency the President pronounced that Zimbabwe is open for business and it is a friend to all and an enemy to none. Therefore, Zimbabwe embraces with open hands this inaugural summit, bringing together the Americas and Africa, and in this same breath, to echo the sentiments that have been expressed by others, including the delegate from Cuba that spoke before us, as well as the delegate from Zambia that spoke before us. In the interest of time, I will go to our propositions, and of course, echoing what has been said here, to say, let this not be the last encounter between us, but that we look forward to meeting perhaps in Africa in the next encounter. So having listened to the discussions of today, and in order to address the disparities that exist between the two regions, we propose that collaborative efforts be made to address these challenges, focusing on shared solutions such as, among others, the need for continued dialogue and commitment to building partnerships. As policymakers, it is critical to take actionable steps and concrete commitments from both regions for the growth and development of tourism. Multilateral organizations are a critical cog in the development of tourism between the two regions. Hence, they should be included in the whole matrix. All in all, the horizon is bright for the future relationship between Africa and the Americas, envisioning a more interconnected and prosperous world. I actually am accredited to this beautiful country and am based in Havana. I was happy to hear from the minister from Zambia that they've also concluded diplomatic relations with the Dominican Republic. I look forward to working closely with my brother from the other side of the river. Muchas gracias, muito obrigado. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. Sierra Leone, you have the floor.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. At the outset, permit me to recognize the presence of the Vice President of the Dominican Republic and Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. May I thank the Dominican Republic and congratulate them for this opportunity to build a bridge between the two continents, Africa and the Americas. The delegation from Sierra Leone appreciates the hospitality accorded and thank Minister Collado and his team for making this happen. May I also commend the Secretary General and the team for transforming the tourism landscape and making it more inclusive and diverse. If I may reference the rapid recovery that tourism has made after COVID, and note that due to the ability of this sector to bounce back, it is indeed the strategy that is needed to accelerate progress on the SDGs in general. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the cultural connections between Africa and the Americas, particularly from the perspective of Sierra Leone, are deeply rooted in history and have shaped the identities and traditions of both continents. One of the most significant and tragic connections is the transatlantic slave trade, which brought millions of Africans to the Americas. Sierra Leone has a significant place in the history of the transatlantic slave trade. Many who were taken to the Americas came from the region that is now Sierra Leone. It is worth visiting Bonds Island and Rotumba Slave Fort to reconnect with your heritage. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the slave trade led to a profound cultural exchange as African traditions, languages, and customs blended with those indigenous people and European settlers created unique cultural expressions. The influence of African languages can be seen in Creole languages spoken in the Caribbean and parts of the Americas. In Sierra Leone, we have a unique form of the Creole language, which is known as Creole, and it is a widely spoken vernacular across the country. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, African rhythms and musical styles have had a lasting impact on the music of the Americas. Genres like jazz, blues, samba, reggae, hip-hop, and several others all have roots in African musical traditions. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on religion and spirituality, African spiritual practices, including those from Sierra Leone, have influenced religious practices in the Americas, leading to the creation of syncretic religions. On cuisine, the culinary traditions of the Americans have also been enriched by African ingredients and cooking techniques. Several dishes are shared across the two continents. On language and literature again, African languages have influenced a lot of the Creole languages again in the Caribbean and parts of the Americas. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it would interest you that there's even a place named Freetown in Trinidad and Tobago, and we also have a Sierra Leone road in Diego Martin in Trinidad and Tobago. In arts and craft as well, African art forms, including those from Sierra Leone, have influenced artistic expressions in the Americans. And these include everything from textile patterns such as Gara tie-dye to sculpture and dance. I'm sure we're also aware of the Gula Geechee culture, that the Gula Geechee culture is still alive and has held several homecoming events since the 80s. Our president, Dr. Julius Maada Bio, in his current development plan, has put tourism as a critical enabler, and therefore several reforms are in progress. Some of these reforms have taken into consideration structural and policy shifts at national level to promote tourism and culture, as well as create a bridge between the two A's, Africa and the Americas, based on what we all share, the authenticity of our products. We have a new program titled Find My Roots in Sierra Leone, where African Americans